Is that the motion be agreed to. I call in Lees-Galloway.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. It's a pleasure to rise and speak in the second reading of the Psychoactive Substances Bill. Can I welcome the new Minister, Todd McClay, to the debate on this issue? And can I suggest to him that the process and the thinking behind this piece of legislation was far superior to some of the other legislation that he promoted in the House as a private member, and that I hope that he learns from this experience, because this is the way to go, Minister. I really also... There's not a high test, no, but I also ought to recognise the Honourable Peter Dunn, who is the architect of this legislation and who steered it through its first stages in the House, and also has steered it from its genesis as a set of recommendations out of the Law Commission report to becoming legislation, and it's good to see Peter Dunn in the House this evening. Can I say thank you very much to the colleagues on the Select Committee. I have to say, barring a couple of process issues, and I do need to reflect on those, but barring a couple of process issues, the constructive approach that all members of the Select Committee took to this legislation was encouraging, and it's the sort of thing that I wish the New Zealand public could actually get to see more often. I particularly want to acknowledge Paul Hutchison and Scott Simpson, who, from the National Party side, really worked hard to improve this bill, and I think it's come back to the House in a much better shape than when it went to Select Committee. Sir, I did say there were a couple of process issues, and I do need to briefly just reflect on those. The first is the fact that we had such a short time frame at Select Committee to deal with this bill. It has been said by the government that that is in order to have the legislation enacted as quickly as possible and to have it enacted before the expiry of the temporary ban notices placed on some of the psychoactive products. That is true, that is necessary. However, we did not need to curtail the Select Committee process. We simply needed to get this legislation to the House much sooner than it did. And in fact, because the Law Commission reported its recommendations over 2 years ago, there has been plenty of time for the government to make this a priority. This is no reflection in any way whatsoever on Peter Dunn. I know he has always viewed this as a priority. The government, the National Party in particular, simply did not prioritise this and caused some difficulties for the Select Committee in dealing with all the issues because of the shortened time frame. And one of those issues was animal testing. I don't want to dwell on that issue too much in this speech, but suffice to say that it was a mistake for the National Party members on that committee to vote against hearing the submissions referring to animal testing. We needed to hear all sides of the debate. We were not able to consider that issue properly because those submissions were blocked. And that was not a matter of scope. That was a question that the committee had to make a decision on, and we did not hear those submissions because National Party members voted against the committee doing so. It's as simple as that, and that's all I really want to say about that. We have made this bill a better bill. First thing that we've done is that we've amended the purpose, and we've added the words "to protect the health of and minimise harm to individuals who use psychoactive substances." That absolutely has to be at the heart of this legislation. It has to be driving this legislation, that the purpose is to reduce the harm to people who use psychoactive substances and indeed to the people around them and their communities, and that is a positive change. It is incredibly positive, and I think probably the most important change to the families, the parents, the communities who have taken an interest in this issue, that we have brought the banning of sale of psychoactive products from dairies into the primary legislation. It will be absolutely clear that from day one, when this legislation is passed, it will not be possible to buy any psychoactive product from the local dairy. It is not appropriate for these substances to sit alongside milk, bread, lollies and all the other things that we buy from our local stores, and that is a massively positive change, and in fact I think for many people the only change that is important. There will be a transition period there is a transition period in which the substances to which a temporary ban notice has not been applied will be able to stay on the shelves so long as the manufacturers of those products apply for them to become an approved substance. That, to reiterate, does not mean there will be a transition period in which they can continue to be sold from dairies. Again, from day one, they will be out of the dairies, and that's important to know. When the bill was originally drafted, there were a number of licences that were available. Licences to manufacture a psychoactive product, licence to import a psychoactive product. We have added at Select Committee some more licences. The most important of those is a licence to retail the product. The people who are selling these products need to be of good character, and they need to know what it is that they are doing. They need to know about the products. They need to be able to provide information to the people who are purchasing products from them. And I'm very pleased that the Select Committee saw fit to introduce that retailer's licence. We considered at length the issue of point-of-sale advertising and of the packaging of psychoactive substances. We haven't quite gone as far as plain packaging. That is a recognition of the fact that not all these substances are the same. They are different chemical compounds. They are different substances that have different effects on people. But we have heavily regulated exactly what those packages can look like. They must not be designed in a way that appeals to young people, and they must carry information both about the ingredients in those products and the places that people can seek help should they find that the products have an adverse effect on them. There are great restrictions on the point of sale advertising, and indeed the only advertising that will be possible will be inside the stores that are licensed to sell these products. And my vision is that these will be essentially standalone stores into which people will enter really for the only reason of purchasing these products and associated products. And that, I think, is appropriate. They should be R18 stores, in my view. The only people who are 18 or over should be purchasing those products, and only people 18 and over should be going into those stores to purchase those products. We considered the issue of whether or not we should apply an excise tax to these substances. It's something that we do for alcohol. It's something that we do for tobacco. And I think it will be a positive move to one day apply an excise tax. We heard advice from the Ministry, and indeed the Drug Foundation supported this view, that what we need to do is see how the market develops, see what the pricing points are, and revisit this issue in the future when we have a better idea of exactly what level of tax should be applied. I support that approach, and I hope that we will get an opportunity to review that in the near future. Another issue that the Select Committee took a considerable amount of time to consider was the issue of possession, and whether or not it should be an offence to possess an unapproved substance, and whether or not it should be an offence for a person aged under 18 to possess either an approved or an unapproved substance. This was an issue that challenged the Select Committee, and again we gave it great consideration, and there was constructive consideration from members of all parties. In the end, at Select Committee, we came to the view that for people aged under 18, making it an offence was useful because it created the series of events in which the police could ensure that early intervention occurred and that young people could be referred to health providers, and that level of early intervention would happen. And the police assured us that their first step would not be to issue an offence notice against a young person. And it's important to remember that these are not criminal offences, these are infringement offences, that they rate alongside a speeding fine or a parking fine, and they do not result in a criminal record for young people. However, for the possession of an unapproved substance for people aged 18 years or over, initially the Select Committee came to the view that this was not an appropriate thing to do, simply because it will be so difficult for the police to enforce. It's very difficult for the police to know on the spot whether someone is in possession of an approved substance or an unapproved substance. And in fact, the testing to determine that takes a matter of months. That does not support the notion that this should be an on-the-spot fine. And the committee initially came to the view that because it didn't really advance the purpose of the bill, which is to reduce the harm relating to these psychoactive substances, that it was really better simply to remove the offence of possession of an unapproved substance. However, the Minister came back and the government insisted that we retain that possession offence. I would like us to revisit that, and I have offered a supplementary order paper that we can consider during the Committee of the Whole to revisit that issue and possibly remove the offence of being in possession of an unapproved substance. Sir, with these final words, I simply want to say that Labour supports this bill and we hope that it is progressed with haste.
I call the Honourable Peter Dunn.
Mr. Speaker, may I raise a point of order?